Hi everyone, welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about my wrap up for July and August. I've been kind of doing 2 months at a time because I do feel like I read quite a bit. I don't feel like I read enough to talk about a lot of books for just 1 month. In July, I didn't read a whole lot because I was reading the massive book of War and Ruin. This book was huge. It took me about all month. And same with, along with it, I was reading one of the Wheel of Time books. So I didn't get a lot done in July. August, I got some more books done, but in July, I didn't. So I felt like doing 2 months together again. And I've kind of been liking how that's been working. So with the 2 months together, I've read about 8 books, and 2 of them were arcs. So thank you, Nat Galley, for those. So I'll go over those maybe first. Sadly, I wasn't too fond of these arcs. The first one is The Phoenix King. I did read that one. Gorgeous cover. I love the cover on that book. I'm sure you can see it here or here, wherever. But that one I loved. I don't know. The cover made me really want to read it. And it had an interesting premise to it, too. I gave it probably about a 3-star. It didn't really click for me. I felt like the world didn't really work and the characters didn't really work for me. And I don't find it that memorable. It's been a little bit since I've read it, and I've kind of like immediately after I read it, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I don't really care what happens to these characters anymore. Like, I don't think I'll go back to it, when the other ones are out, because I just didn't click for me. I mean, it's not to say that it wasn't good. It was good. I actually read it pretty quick, because I found it very engaging. So, I mean, I do think it was, a very engaging read. It was very interesting, and it was fast-paced. When I looked back and reflected on it, it didn't appeal as much. And there was some weird things with the world. It was almost like this futuristic kind of desert feel. And so in a lot of the futuristic kind of technology wasn't really explained, and it just didn't fit. Just stick with, I don't know, just more of like the swords, but instead they had kind of like these weird like hollow pods, and I don't know, it just didn't fit. And then the main characters, a lot of their actions didn't really seem to fit. I didn't understand a lot of their motivations, because it's following 3 main characters. You have this king, Leo, who is interesting, and his motivation's pretty clear. He wants to remain king. And so that was, I did enjoy his point of view. And he gets pretty dark towards the end. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty good. But the other 2, you had Yasin and Alina. And I just didn't like them. Alina is supposed to be the heir. And her problem is that she can't control this fire that would make her be considered like the Fire King. And so she's having this issue where she can't control it because there's a secret with it, and Leo won't give it up. And Yasin is this assassin who supposedly he's left this group of assassins, and somehow he's able to just guard the daughter heir even though they knew he was part of the assassin group. That just doesn't make any sense. Why would you have someone who was just recently about to kill all of them, and then all of a sudden he's guarding them because you can trust him now? It just, I don't know. And it felt like, they're trying to set up a relationship and just force it, even though it just didn't work. So there was just some elements that I really didn't enjoy. It just kind of fell flat for me. Especially with the important areas, the characters and the world. I don't know. But like the plot, it was moving. There was just some confusing parts in the goals, motivations, and even trying to picture the world at times. So I can see, I would recommend giving this a try because you might like it. You might find it enjoyable because it's a fast-paced read. It's quick. I think it might be easier to read maybe when all of them are out because maybe it'll improve over that time. But I just didn't really care about it as much. But I appreciate having the arc of that. That was my honest review, which I also posted on Goodreads too. So that's fully on there. I'm kind of giving a little rough down version of it because I'm trying to cover the other books I read for July and August too. The other arc I read, this was also kind of a 3-star for me, but I got it from NetGalley, and it's The Witch and the City. I was excited for this one. I thought it seemed like an interesting premise, but I didn't really like the writing style. And so I do recommend trying it because I have seen reviews where they're like, I love the writing style. This is just what I want. And for me, I didn't like it. It's kind of maybe a little more kind of whimsical, like has like a weird kind of cadence to it at times. It's odd. So it didn't fit for me. I didn't like it. I found myself frustrated with it. But it started off with kind of a cool premise. And it does wrap up well. So, I mean, it does have an interesting ending. So, for those points, I do recommend giving a try, just because where I may not have liked the writing, some people might find that really fits and they really enjoy it. And it's something different. But this one is following where it's kind of like this city that's almost like a prison, and people seem to kind of be trapped in there. And when people kind of die, per se, they're not really dying, they almost kind of get like reincarnated, and but this new person's found, so there's really no like babies or children. It's just kind of like this weird cycle going on, and they might sometimes get that other person's memories, but sometimes might not. Well, this main character, who is this witch, she is following after a previous one, because there can only be one witch. So she's following after the previous one, and she still has some of those memories. And the previous one before her was trying to figure out a way to escape. So she is now taking on that mantle and trying to figure out what the other one was starting to. So it is an interesting premise. I did like that. And it, like I said, it has an interesting ending. So I do recommend giving it a try. You might like it. There was just a lot of parts of the language just really felt disjointed to me. And it just didn't feel, I just didn't really care for that. It felt very unrealistic, the language. Even though it is unrealistic. But still, it felt very clunky to me. So, I don't know. I was excited to have these 2 arcs. I'm a little disappointed I didn't rate them higher or feel like I rated them higher. But I did just read an arc. I finished today, and I'll have a pretty good review for that one. So I don't want to go into that one yet. I'm covering July and August right now. But there'll be a video out on that soon. So going into next, let's start. I don't know. Okay, I'll start with another good one, which obviously I'm sure you're all gonna know my review on this one. But this would be Yumi, and I loved this one. This was so good. So this was The Secret Project number 3, and I read this right when it came out, and I finished it I think in like 2 days. I loved it. I couldn't put it down. This was so much fun, and I really did enjoy this. I didn't think I would. It has kind of some of that anime feel to it. I've seen where apparently it's kind of following another anime type story. I don't read or watch anime, so I don't know a lot about it. So this was completely new to me, and I really enjoyed this story. I really did. It's an interesting setting. You got an interesting world being created, worlds kind of feel. And then you got some interesting characters with their interaction, their forced proximity to each other. They're forced to interact. So you do have a little bit of a romance storyline going on. And since it is Sanderson, it's not like an obnoxious romance storyline. It's not the center. There is still a plot. You do have Hoyd narrating, which I don't think his narrating is quite as good as it was in Trust, but I still did enjoy it just because I like Hoyd so much. But this was fun. I really did enjoy this. I just really liked it. And Tress and Yumi have been my favorite secret projects. And I really do like them. They were so much fun. I don't know what else to say about it because I don't want to just go off on a rant about how much I love this book, because I really did have fun. So that was a highlight for me for this wrap up. I had fun. And now I'll talk about Agatha Christie and the Halloween Party. So this I read because I was kind of reading it in anticipation of the movie Haunting in Venice. And I did do a video on this. I kind of compare the two a little bit just because I've only seen the trailer. I have not seen the movie yet, but I want to see it because I'm really excited for it. But I was a little disappointed that the book seems to be loosely based off of the movie appears to be loosely based off of the book. Sorry, book came first. So I was a little disappointed that it doesn't follow as closely as Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. So I was hopeful that they were going to be more closely linked, but they weren't. This one's kind of more of just Agatha Christie's typical, murder mystery trying to solve one of the murders that was done at a Halloween party, more of a kid's Halloween party. There's no haunting going on, nothing like that. Not like the movie. It's obviously very dramatized and theatrical. So it doesn't appear to be like that at all. So they're going to be very different. But I like the actor who does Perot, so I'm still excited to see it. And the book is good. I just wish I wouldn't have had probably that trailer in my mind because I feel like it definitely influenced my view on the book. But that said, the book was still kind of boring at times. I feel like it could have been shortened because there was a lot of rambling going on. It wasn't my favorite of hers. So I would recommend reading another Agatha Christie if you're going to jump into it. And if you're reading it to prepare for the movie, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Maybe just watch the movie if you want to watch the movie. But if you're going to read Agatha Christie, I recommend those other ones, Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and Then There Were None, and ABC Murders was good too. So I recommend maybe jumping into one of those first before doing Halloween Party, because you might be a little disappointed. You might still I've seen some, reviews based off of my video that people really did enjoy it. And it is still enjoyable, but I just felt like the trailer kind of influenced my view a little bit on that. So yeah, that was another one. And then, so this took up, I actually had 3 of these books of Ryan Cahill. I had read the Exile novella, Of War and Ruin, and the Ice novella, which was an arc. So thank you to the Cahill team for giving me the arc of that. I was so excited. But the Exile novella, I'll start with that, because that follows right after book 2. So I definitely recommend reading the Exile after book 2. Actually, I would just recommend all the novellas. The novellas are great. They are so good. They're just usually I'm not a novella person. I kind of tend to just ignore them with series. Do not ignore these ones because you need them. They fill in the gaps. You get more of the characters, more of the side characters rather than you get them in the main story. But then usually the following book you get them in the main story because the Exile follows Dane, and he is definitely more in Of War and Ruin and everything. So it's nice to get his backstory because you get where he was in exile for a number of years, and so you're finally figuring out what he was doing during that time. And it was very interesting. So I recommend reading that one. And then I read Of War and Ruin. And this one probably took up about my whole month of July. This book is ginormous. I think it's 1,400 pages? It took me forever. I felt like I was never going to get done. But I enjoyed every bit of it. And I wouldn't cut any of it. I loved it so much. It was so good. These books just keep getting better. There is no second book or third book, middle book slog. There's none of that. It just keeps getting better and better. His first book to me was probably his weakest, and then every single one of that has just been 5+ stars for me. I've loved them all. So I'm so excited to see where this series is gonna go. But Of War and Ruin, you really get the relationships between all the characters being developed. The bonds are getting stronger. I love the way the author writes these friendship and family bonds. They are done so well, and I think that's probably my favorite part of this series. Other books really seem to struggle with doing friendship bonds and having all those secondary characters really being involved. This author does not seem to have that problem. That's great. I will say though, sometimes I get a little tired of the sappy speeches that are done between these characters when it's just like, oh, you're just the best, and I couldn't have done this without you, and we're going to be friends forever kind of feel. That can get a little tedious at times because it happens a lot, but it doesn't take enough away from me to not enjoy the story. I still like it. I really do. And I wish those speeches might get a little shorter and not quite so frequent, but it's nice to know that these characters do have such a strong bond. So it's just a minor complaint and not enough for me to dislike the book because of it. But you're getting a lot more of the characters. You're getting some really interesting points and abilities that some of them might have. So I recommend sticking with this series. And if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend trying it because it is so good. It's your classic fantasy dragon story, and I love it. It's so good. And then going on with that, like I said, I got the arc of Ice, and I think that might be coming out the end of this month, and I am so excited for that. That one was so good too. I just love these novellas. I sometimes am enjoying the novella more than like the main story. They're just so good. But Ice is following Aeson getting the dragon egg and his journey to go get it, because that is the story that has not been told throughout the series. It keeps getting referenced about how difficult this journey was, but it was never told. So finally you're getting to know the story and how difficult it was to get it and why they can't get more, because I was always like, why don't they just go and get more eggs? So this is going to explain that and reveal a lot of those questions. So definitely read that one, because that one will help add to the story. So yes, read it. Okay, so I want to end on a high note, so I'm going to jump into another book that was terrible. This is going to be Crossroads of Twilight, Wheel of Time book number 10. This is known as the slog book. Oh my word, this is no exaggeration. I struggled so hard with this one. I literally, every time I would open this, I would fall asleep instantly. Like, I would just be out. It took me, what was it, like 3 months to get through this? Eventually, I got to the point where I was like, probably 60% of the way through. And I'm like, I'm just going to have to read a chapter a day. Like, no matter what, just a chapter a day to get this thing done, because I'm never going to get it done. I kept just putting it down because I'm like, oh, I'll just read this other book in the meantime. And then I read like 8 other books, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta get to this one at some point. It was so boring. Nothing happens. Oh my word. And then Rand doesn't even show up till about, I think it was about 80% of the way through. He finally gets a chapter. He only just did the coolest thing ever in the last book at the end. Well, not the coolest thing ever, but he did. It was pretty drastic change. No comment on it. So there was nothing about it. I'm like, why? Instead, I had to read about these I'm going to say it wrong, but this is just how I say my Aes Sedai people, and the Elaine being, trying to be queen, even though she's not yet. They're just sitting there smoothing their skirts and sniffing their nose in the air. That's all they're doing the whole time. If I have to read one more comment about smoothing their skirts, and oh my word, it was awful. The women I've written, I have the worst storylines in this book, and actually pretty much in the series, and this book just exaggerates that tenfold. This was just so bad. I don't care about their storylines. I don't, especially Elaine, I've never liked her, and her and Fail, I have never liked either of them, and I can't stand them, and that is, the main focus of this book. Egwene then takes up the other majority, which it gets okay towards the end, but the rest of it's terrible. You're just reading about how she has these headaches, and she's just trying to, I don't know, figure out what to do next and maneuver around people. It's just, nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. I can't even describe how much nothing happens, because nothing happens. And then Perrin trying to get Fail back. Oh my word. Just kill me now. I can't. I can't handle another Perrin and Fail moment. Pale. I'm going to call him Pale. It's so bad. Does anyone actually like Fail? Like, who cares? I mean, just, okay, I'm going to get really worked up about this, but it's like this book, it's just like, it's so bad. I didn't give it, I think I gave it 2 stars because I still like the series. I do. And I'm so glad I'm finally past this infernal book because this was terrible. And I'm already, I think, 20% into the book 11. So much better already. Because something is happening now. Thank goodness. So book 11 is already better. Just gotta get through this, guys. If you're gonna do the series, just get through this one. Just do the chapter a day. And you'll finally get it done. I struggled so hard with this one. But yeah, so definitely not a high point for me. But ending on a high note because I want to end with something exciting. I feel bad. This month I had a lot of highs and lows on this month. But The Will of the Many. I loved this book. It was so good. Oh my word. Definitely check this one out. If you haven't read the author's other series, the Lucanus trilogy, I do like that one, but I have seen a lot of reviews where people don't necessarily like it. I think even if you did or didn't like that trilogy, you will still like this book. It's different enough, and it has a whole different feel. It doesn't have all the multiple point of views like the Lucanus trilogy does. And there's not all this time hopping going on like the Lucanus trilogy. Completely different world, completely different type of story. The Will of the Many is following one point of view, and it has more of this kind of Roman feel to it. We're also having type of magic system going on as well. So it is very fascinating. But I will say that you will be on the edge of your seat constantly. I felt like this was such a high stress book. I was constantly just oh my goodness, what's happening next? There was just so much, there was never a good point to stop. And this was a pretty thick book, so I couldn't put it down. It was so good. And I've seen other reviews too where people are just this is a book that will keep you up at night because it's really good. So I definitely recommend giving that one a try. So going off of that, this was the months of July and August. I had some good, I had some bad, but overall I'm pretty happy with the books that I read. And I hope I gave you some maybe good recommendations of ones you might want to try. Maybe get you excited for some of them, and maybe get you curious about trying maybe some of the others. So yeah, if you do check any of them out, let me know because I'd love to know your thoughts on them. But thank you for watching.